Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Tuesday, November 3rd, Election Day. Amazing. Very, very exciting day. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined here by my partner in crime, Mr. Andrew Hansen, and we are here to really dissect this Houston Open that's coming up this weekend. And we're going to get it out a few days early to give everybody a chance to make some money in golf. So then next week, they're ready to really ramp it up for the Masters. So how are you doing on this wonderful election day, sir?
Yeah, I was going to say, there's nothing else going on this November 3rd day other than this podcast, right? Oh yeah, there is. I guess there is that election thing happening. So yeah, big day here, and we're taking a break to get the golf in, and yeah, excited about it because we've got some big names coming back into the mix. Guys who've been dealing with COVID, guys who are starting to practice up for the Masters. So exciting here. Like you said, good opportunity to build the bankroll before the Masters.
It really was. And last week, boy, what a strong finish we had for some of our guys. A lot of members cashing in on the weekend, and specifically the fourth and final day of the tournament last week. So that was a lot of fun. And this field is way better than last week's. And so I was surprised, to be honest with you, that it was that strong. And the amazing part is, the Houston Open, I have played on the course where they normally play that in the woodlands and such. I had no idea until I did my research that they moved this to a different place, and they have not hosted a tournament there since 1963. That's even before I was born. So we're talking. They may have whittled the sticks in those days. God only knows.
Right.
But so it's a course that we're not going to have course history. So we're gonna really dive into some of the stats that we think are going to come into play. And you are the man, the expert, and the knowledge gainer in our golf world. So before I dump it over to you to give us all that info, I want to thank our presenting sponsor, and that is BetUS.com.pa. They are the best. We love them. You can still bet on the election on there, by the way. So that's, you don't have to take a day off, I guess, if you don't want to. But really, really appreciate those guys. Check them out. 125% match and good stuff. So, all right, give us a little info on this exciting golf adventure on this Muni course here in downtown Houston.
Well, yeah, it's funny because, most of these courses on the PGA Tour, either they play them every year, or at least there was some event in the last 15 or 20 years that some of the members of the field, like if Tiger's there or some of these older guys like this week, Stuart Sink, like they've all played there for some event, but not this one.
No, 57 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's been redesigned by Tom Doak, and Brooks Koepka helped with the redesign. So kind of an interesting story.
Yeah, that's right.
And one of the features is they reduced a number of the bunkers. So there's only 19 or 20 bunkers. There's a lot of sloping grass areas instead around the green. So you get a little bit creative. And it is a municipal course, like you said. So it's built so that the amateur can have a fun time out there. But it also presents a different challenge to the pros, and they have to get a little bit creative. So it'll be fun to watch. And it's a longer course than last week in Bermuda, which was under 7,000 yards. Now we're back up at 7,432 yards, par 72, and we've got another interesting layout with 5 par 5s and 5 par 3s. So I took a deep dive into those stats again. And the other thing I want to mention is that it has smaller greens, very slopey, undulated, tough putting surfaces. To me, it kind of reminds me of the course layout that we had just a few weeks ago at the CJ Cup at Shadow Creek in Las Vegas. Remember how they were smaller greens, very contoured. So strokes gained approach and putting were a big factor there. And so I think guys who played on that course and played well should have a bit of an edge here. So I want to start by just mentioning some of the guys that finished high in the tournament at Shadow Creek. Some of these names that guys who've been playing well recently, and they are going to fit into a lot of these statistical categories. But
let me jump in real quickly before you name names here, because a couple things I wanted to add. Being down here in Texas, and knowing how the weather's been lately, and then looking into it for this tournament, weather is gorgeous. It's nice and cool in the mornings, like mid 70s, upper 70s during the day.
That's warm to me.
For us, that is perfect. No big winds, nothing like that. Like last week, man, that was a blast watching that Bermuda wind when it was 30-mile-an-hour sustained, etc. So as far as the weather goes, and then leading up to this tournament, the course should be immaculate. So all of that aspect, I don't see any huge advantage afternoon to morning sessions. So that stuff that comes into play a lot, I think you don't have to worry about whatsoever. And I think the course will play true. And from everything that I read about it as well, just to reiterate some of the things that you said, is it's going to be one of those cases where just because they have a lot of par fives doesn't mean it's going to be an easy scoring course. I mean, one of the par fives, I believe, was 607 or 617 or somewhere in that neighborhood. So, and there's a couple long par threes, 240 and stuff like that. So, I think it'll play true and fair. Like you said, you're not going to have a lot of bunkers or water to deal with, but a lot of those grassy collection areas, if you miss the greens. And I think from what I read today, they're running about 11 on the stimp meter. So it's going to be, you better read the break and read it right, or you're going to see a lot of three putts. So anyway, just wanted to share that with, going in, because sometimes weather is a big part of the story, and I don't think we have anything to worry about here.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the weather, because comparing it to last week, like you did, Bermuda, I mean, those pins were basically bent over sideways a lot of the time. And so I really don't think last week has a ton of correlation to this week.
No.
Because it was so windy and because it was so short. So it is a much different scenario here with the length and no wind. So I do think it compares more to Shadow Creek. And if you look at the guys who had good finishes that week, of course, that was when Tyrrell Hatton came over and was in third place, tied with Henley, your boy Henley, who helped you win on the weekend.
He sure did.
Taylor Gooch was fifth. Lanto Griffin was tied for seventh. He followed that up with a tied for 11th. And then
he's playing nice golf. I watched him quite a bit this weekend. I like his game.
Yeah. Next, we've got Victor Hovland. He was tied for 12th that week. Siwoo Kim, 17th. And then Mark Hubbard, 17th. So all those guys obviously are in the field this week. So they get a tiny bit of a boost up for me. But like I said, what I really looked into more was the par 5 and par 3 scoring again, because we have this anomaly with 5 of each instead of the traditional 4 or sometimes even 3 par 5s. But we have 5 this week. Looking at the par 5 scoring this year for the guys who are in the field this week, Ollie Schneider Jans is number 1 after his terrific performance last week in Bermuda. We recommended him to members. He finished in third place, and he was only 6,200.
Yes.
On DraftKings. He was almost minimum price.
One of the huge value plays. Great call last week, Andrew.
This week he's up to 7,100. So no longer the completely secret squirrel, but
still cheap.
Still cheap. And if you look at the actual numbers, he was 10 under on his 12 par 5s played last week. There were only 3 of them. So really incredible there. John Huh. Okay, here's a name for you. Okay. He is a lesser known guy. He's 30 years old, but he had a great top 20 at the Shriners. And because of the scoring that week that he did, he was 4th in par 5 scoring, and he was 1st in par 3 scoring. So not a bad situation for a guy who's only 6,300 on DraftKings.
Huh?
Yeah, huh. 6,300 for those stats. I'll take that.
Wow.
Next on the list of par 5 scoring, now we're going to get into some more of the well-known names. Mr. Fenow, who's back in the field. He's 6th this year in par 5 scoring. Christopher Ventura is 9th.
Yeah.
We've been on him some recently. He missed the cut last week on the number.
That was a gut punch, boy.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was. Victor Hovland is 10th in this category. Harold Varner III, who blew up in the second round. He's on here. JT Poston.
Yeah,
Cameron
didn't
Davis.
Didn't he card an 80?
I think it was 78 or 79. It was up there. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep. Cameron Davis. And then here's another name for you, okay? James Hahn, another one of these grinders. He is 39 years old, and he has won before, and he's found something here lately because his last 3 tournaments, tied for 9th, tied for 6th, and tied for 5th. And
really?
He's only 8,000.
Talk about under the radar.
Yeah, exactly. So there's another one to mention. And then just a couple more in par 5s. Denny McCarthy, who you've been on a lot recently, and he's really known for his putting, but he kind of improved his tee to green here recently. He was tied for 4th in Bermuda.
Yeah.
So he's a nice value at under 8,000. And then Sam Burns, who's 29th. This year, he was 21st in this category last year. Wyndham Clark, 29th this year, tied for 6th last year. And, of course, he just lost in the playoff.
Right.
And then Sergio, he's the other guy in the top 30. So those guys get a bit of an edge with par 5 scoring. And then the big hitters from last year who don't have as much data this year, Dustin Johnson, of course, who's been out with COVID, Hideki, and then 2 more guys that I really like this week, Scotty Scheffler and Sungjae Im. They were both very good at par 5 scoring last year, and I like how this course is setting up for those 2.
Definitely. And Koepka, too. I mean, you've got to put him in that mix when he's healthy and playing well also, as far as a banger like that. Very interesting. I mean, it's going to be – the reason I like this course is there is going to be a need for length off the tee with those par 5s. There's going to be very important to have a good short game because you have to land the ball on the right spot on the greens with the undulation, or you're going to roll down into those little grass, spots where you got to chip it up there. And then, you got to be able to putt, especially if they're rolling that fast. So this will be a kind of tournament where it's going to take an all-around guy to just really be on top of his game. What I want to do, though, is because we sort of skipped by it since the incredible win streak came shattering down with 2 losses in a row for Mr. Hansen here, trying to sort of wiggle out of the BetUS.com.pa odds challenge that I always give you. So I decided I'm going to make it easy for you today. Let you get some momentum going back, get that confidence going. So very simple. Piece of cake for you. I'm going to give you the 11th through 20th guy. So removing the top 10 without telling you who they are. And all you need to do is get 3 correct before you miss 3 of that whole group of guys, of 10 guys. Piece of cake.
Oh, it's so easy. How about one of the guys we were just talking about, Lanto Griffin?
He is right square in the middle of it at plus 4,500.
Okay. How about a gentleman who was top 5 for us on our GPP winning lineup last week? By the way, we gave out a GPP lineup on FanDuel, and it cashed, even though it had Justin Suh in there. Man,
and I renamed him Justin Suck. SUHK.
He was 5 under par in the second round through the 7th hole. He was tied for either 11th or 12th place in the tournament. Yep. And then over the last 11 holes, he went 7 over par to miss the cut by 1.
Oh, he was set, man. And I was watching on there, and on 16, he doubled and then bogeyed on 17 to fall below the cut. If I would have had dentures, my teeth would have fell out right on the table. I couldn't believe it. Brutal. But anyway,
That's what the wind will do. What the wind will do to you.
Well, he keeps a K on the end of that SUH name until he proves us different.
That was rough. That was rough. So we got Lanto Griffin. How about Texas man Jordan Spieth?
Missed by one.
Ooh, he's down outside the top 20. Okay.
He's 21st.
No respect for the
No local. Respect for the hometown Texas boys. 5,000 plus 5,000.
All right. I know who I was going to say. I lost my train of thought. The other guy who was on our GPP lineup last week that cashed. How about Doc Redman?
I knew that was coming. That was that was your layup one right there. And he played great. We talked a lot about him on the podcast, and he easily could have won that tournament. He was playing some good golf. All right, you only need one more, and you still have 2 misses, so no whammies here.
I got to go with my lefty, Brian Harmon.
You got it. Yeah, right. He's actually up there in 12th, which is high. I'll give you this one today. You did great. All right, so those I'll read you the top 20. Let's get this into everybody's heads because it's key. Huge chalk favorite. I mean, we're talking chickadee chalk here. Dustin Johnson's plus 700. Oof. Then you jump all the way to Tyrrell Hatton at plus 1,300. He's the second choice, but almost at double the odds. Then the finish out the top 10. You've got Koepka, Fenow, Matsuyama, Hovland, my man Russell Henley, Scotty Scheffler, who I take just about every week as well. And then the guy you like a lot too, Sunjae Im. And then the guys to win the contest for you, Sergio, which is pretty good. I mean, he's 11th choice to win this event, which is a surprise, only plus 3,000. You have Jason Day, who was playing great until he had that back issue 2 tournaments ago. So hopefully he's healthy. Then as you got Brian Harmon, Lanto Griffin, Doc Redman, Siwoo Kim, Zach Johnson, which shocked me. I haven't seen him in the top 20 in a while. Shane Lowry, Corey Connors, and my guy, Denny McCarthy. So there's your top group to give you a feel sort of where the betus.com.pa odds are coming from. And so as we're talking about them, let's listen to the golden voice himself, and then we'll complete the statistical breakdown of some of these guys that Andrew has uncovered for some strong plays. And of course, he's Mr. Value Golfer. He'll give us some of those great value plays. So here is a word from betus.com.pa.
Wake up, sports bettors. Sports are in high gear at BetUS.com, so put down the beer and make every sporting event more exciting by putting stakes on the line at BetUS. Earn bragging rights over your friends as you rake in the cash from each week's betting action. But don't settle for any other book. Choose America's favorite sports book with over 25 trusted years in the industry, BetUS. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity, but more importantly, you need a sports book that pays. BetUS has your game with action on football, baseball, basketball, MMA, golf, horse racing, and even esports. No other sportsbook welcomes newcomers like BetUS with their jaw-dropping sign-up bonuses. Sign up now with promo code CoachTalk for 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000. The best in the biz. Now you have the best book in the business with the best DFS provider in the business, Coach Talk. Create your account to make point spread bets, futures bets, prop bets, entertainment bets, live bets, and more. No other sportsbook is as committed to their members as BetUS. Sign up now and get in on the winning side of the ball.
All right, let's dive back in and let's go right back to Mr. Golfer. Andrew, what do you got?
So let me get into some of the par 3 scoring. As I mentioned, number 1 on this list for this season, John Huh. So there's your value play right off the start at 6,300 on DraftKings.
Okay.
Next is Stuart Sink, who had another great finish in Bermuda. He's been hot with the putter. And then the 2 guys we've already mentioned because of that great play in Vegas, Tyrrell Hatton and Russell Henley. They're top 10 on par 3 scoring. Again, there's 5 of them on this course.
Yeah.
Next is Ted Potter Jr., who I don't plan on playing. He hasn't made a cut since July.
Ooh.
Then we've got Patty Harrington, who's getting back in the mix here. He was tied for 26th last week in Bermuda, And for some reason, he's just playing a bunch of golf here. But
yeah, he was up in 12th on Saturday there for a while. I was stunned.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of 12th, tied for 12th this year in that stat is Cameron Tringali, who is also the best putter in the field this year. If you look at the putting stats, overall putting for this season, he's 7th. So there's another nice mid-tier option at 7,300.
He's plus 10,000, and he's just ahead of your man, Ollie Schneider.
Jones, yeah.
Whatever.
Just call him Ollie.
Ollie's plus 11,500. That might be worth $20 just to get a that one.
Just reminds me of Ollie from Hoosiers. Remember Ollie from Hoosiers?
I should know how to say it. It's just one of those mind blocks. I know him. I've watched him. He's
the guy. He never wears a hat.
No, I know it. It's weird to see a guy with no hat, but it came in handy though with those wins. Everybody else was chasing. They even had those bucket hats on, trying to not have to hit the wind.
Right.
So, all right.
Go ahead. A couple more here. Aaron Wise, Tom Hoagie, Wyndham Clark, and Pat Perez. And then CT Pan also in the top 20. Putting, the guys who are at the top of the putting are sort of, run-of-the-mill guys. After Tringali, we've got Patton Kizzire, Sam Ryder. Then we get into JT Poston, and then here we go again with Tyrrell Hatton. Seems to be up there in every statistical category. Yeah. Then Andrew Putnam, then Russell Henley again, and Stuart Sink. So, I think those things do correlate pretty well, the putting with the par threes. So guys like Hatton and Henley and Tringali, really consistent in those overlapping categories. And then the final stat I want to mention here is strokes gained off the tee. As you mentioned, it is important to have some length here and get it in the fairway to try to reach some of these par fives in 2. And so if you look at that stat for this year, we've got Sam Burns, Scheffler is 8th, Sungjae Im, Christopher Ventura, Victor Hovland, Doc Redman, Cameron Davis, Wyndham Clark, James Hahn, Henrik Norlander, Duffner, and then Hatton again. So you see a lot of the same names show up on strokes gained off the tee as the par 5 scoring.
Right.
I like that correlation as well this week.
Interesting. No, I think those are all, very, very good numbers to look at. I mean, the thing is, there's a group of players. It's hard to understand how guys are up top of multiple categories, but you never see them making cuts or on the leaderboard. Right. It's just odd. They must, I don't know if they have too many others, if you will, like double bogeys and such, or what the deal is, but it's hard to believe. My favorite golfer, I'll just start it right off as far as that part goes. I think for me, it's pretty easy. And then hearing all your stats on top of it, I just think Tyrrell Hatton is in a great spot here. I think, he is expensive. I get it. But I love his spot. He's 4th most expensive, 10, but he's $1,200 less than DJ on DraftKings. And then on FanDuel, he's 3rd at 11.7. He's below Johnson and Koepka. I just think his form, the way he's played at the end of last season, getting settled back in here, the statistics that really lead to his game fit this course really well. 13 out of 15 cuts. He played in 15 events and had 8 top 10s. I mean, that's getting Rory-ish right there.
Yes.
So, I just want to toot his horn first off the bat because he is going to be my foundational guy this week.
Yeah, you can't go wrong there. I mean, it just makes a ton of sense. He's been so hot, so consistent. So I like that call. In terms of the other top names here, my plan this week is to fade DJ and Koepka. DJ's coming off of COVID. Let's see him kind of get healthy, get back in the groove of competition. Koepka, we know he's been struggling with injury, and we also know that all he cares about is winning majors. So to me, this is just get in shape, get back in the groove, just like DJ, get ready for the Masters. And, he might finish top 20 with his eyes closed if he's healthy. But I don't feel the need to spend up on him this week. I'd rather go with, the savings on Hatton, some of these other guys I like in the 9K range. The one guy I do like up there to get a little bit lower ownership is Tony Finau. He's coming off that, 11th place finish in California. We know he absolutely destroys par fives. Length. He's one of the longest hitters on tour. So I like how things are setting up for Tony Finau this week and get lower ownership than those other guys.
Well, no one ever can say, hey, those guys at Coach Talk are chalk players, because I'm going to fade Johnson and Koepka in everything. I'm not going to roster either guy, and I think they'll both get a ton of play for all the reasons you just stated exactly. Coming off the injury, coming off COVID, really focusing much more on the Masters next week. I just, they both have the talent, like you said, to win this, without question. I just don't want to go there, and I'd much rather save that salary for other people. As far as Finau goes, he's second most expensive guy on DraftKings to Johnson, and that just blows my mind. I mean, I like Tony Finau. He's a great, seems like a really great guy, very, very cordial, very professional out there, plays well. I just don't think he's a finisher, and I know I've said this on other shows, but when he gets close, it just doesn't seem like he can get it done. And I mean, the dude's stats across the board are phenomenal. 19 of 23 cuts, 9 top 10s, a scoring average in 69s. I mean, he's under 70 average, even on, that takes into consideration all those rough tournaments with the, US Open kind of roughs and then the wind ones, etc. So, I mean, statistically, he's as good as anybody on the board. I just don't see that finish killer look. And I know I've said this before as well, and I hope he proves me wrong in one of these tournaments, but he just doesn't look like a guy that has that grit to be a big champion. I see him consistently being a top 10 player and grind. And let's face it, even in the Ryder Cup, when really the spotlight's on, he didn't get it done there either. And that it tells a little bit about somebody's intestinal fortitude, I think. And I don't mean to be, dumping on Finau here, but I just don't think he deserves to be in the top 2 highest priced guys on the board until he rips some victories off and backs it up.
Well, I agree with your analysis in terms of the intestinal fortitude, getting the gritty victories. He just hasn't done that yet. But the reasons I like him to add a little bit is this isn't a major. Okay, so it's not the complete spotlight. And you mentioned the top 10s. His 9 top 10s are as many as anyone else in the field. DJ also has 9. Nobody else has touched that. Yeah. And with a guy up there that expensive, it's hard to pick a winner. And if I roster him, I'm hoping for top 5. And I think there's a decent chance he can get us that. So I'm going to get a little bit of exposure to him.
He's a great cash play for that exact reason. He's going to make the cut, and he's going to be up in there. But, I still want to see the guy finish it off. If he does get to that point where he can finish, this is a guy that could win a couple majors.
Yeah, look out.
There's no doubt. Yeah.
The problem, though, like you said, is if you do roster him on DraftKings, it's tough to take somebody like Hatton. It kind of hamstrings your lineup a little bit. So
definitely,
I also like the build where you fade everybody up there. Maybe you go with Hatton, or maybe you just start with a couple of these 9K guys. Victor Hovland at 9,800, I really like him. Scheffler, like I said, here's a guy that is from Texas. I think that's a big factor for him. And he had COVID, but now he's gotten a couple tournaments under his belt. And I listened to an interview with him, And he said that he really found something in his swing out in the last tournament in California when he finished, I believe, 17th. Yeah. So for a guy that he's known as a great driver, and then for him to say, okay, I figured something out with my swing, I feel better now, then I think this is really a chance for him to maybe get in the winner's circle. He was talking about how he hasn't done it, he hasn't won like he would have liked so far, and he just wants to keep giving himself more and more opportunities. So, a young guy who's talking about winning, who had such a great year last year, and who figures something out with his swing, and now he's playing in his home state. I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him this week.
Well, he's a terrific player. I mean, I believe he's 23 years old. So, I mean, he's just barely coming into his own, but he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. Here's an odd twist I'll give you, though. I'm not going to, normally when it's a tournament in Texas, I will really fire up the guys on the Texas advantage.
Sure.
But the two biggest reasons that Texas players do well in Texas generally, and I'd say this is a pretty giant sample size, it's being able to play in the wind, number one, and secondly, being able to play on very dry surfaces where you have to do a lot of bump and run. You've got to land the ball short of the green and let it roll on, especially with fast greens like that. But guess what? It has not been that type of weather this month in the Houston, Dallas area. We've had enough rain that it'll be soft enough there. And we're having very little wind this coming week. So I don't think you're going to have, other than being close to home, and it's not like you can have a ton of fans there anymore either. So I just don't see as big of an advantage as usual for the Texas guys, because you know me, when it's a tournament in Texas and those conditions are right, you'll see like 3 Texans in my lineup. But I don't see that much this week. I like Scheffler a lot. But the one other factor I like Scheffler quite a bit on is a lot of these events where they've played multiple years, 10 years, 15 years, even the ones 5, 6 years, that's a big advantage for the guys like Matsuyama and Henley and those guys that have been on the tour a long time. A place where nobody's played evens the field out a lot more with those guys, the experienced guys, to the people like Scheffler, because they're all playing it for the first time in a tournament. So that gives me a little bit more faith in the guys like Scheffler, the Lanto Griffins, some of those up-and-comer guys that haven't had as much experience on some of those courses. I think it's a good equalizer.
Yeah, and it's funny because Scheffler was talking about how, because he'll be a newcomer to the Masters, the fact that it's in November and it's different conditions than usual,
good point,
gives him a better chance. So he's obviously thinking about that. We have to keep that in mind for the Masters next week. But I do agree with you on those points, that the hesitations. And by the way, he said he hasn't played the course until Monday of this week. He played a few holes. So even though it is in Texas, he doesn't have a home course advantage like some of these Texans at some of these Texas events that we zero in on.
Well, I can tell you the pros in Texas don't play that course. I mean, it's just not, it's a muni course that's hard to get on. There's a lot of people there. It's a different type of scenario. So it's not like one of the awesome country club courses down here where those guys will play to sharpen up. It's going to be a real treat and a real new experience for those guys going out there. All right, we've talked a lot about the guys up in that top group. I think before we get done here, a big reason why a lot of people tune into this podcast is to hear the Hansen. Got to come up with a nickname for your value plays. How about the Hansen Haymakers? The Haymakers?
Yeah.
Well, we'll work on that for now. Send us some ideas, guys. What can we call the value plays for Mr. Andrew Hansen? Send us some, hit us up on YouTube, which reminds me, if you're watching this on YouTube, it's so important. Subscribe. We just announced on Twitter across the board, we gave a month membership away for a new subscriber on YouTube for October. On 2 days ago, on the 1st, we have the November contest going. So if you subscribe to us on YouTube in the month of November, you can win a free 1-month membership, which is a $75 value, to DFS Coach Talk. And we would love to have you do that. So please subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and another huge part that I can't recommend enough is hit that little alarm alert button there, so that when we post a new podcast, and we have multiple podcasts going up per week, that you get a little alert that a new podcast is posted. So please do that as well. Also, if you can catch us anywhere audio podcasts are heard: Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, iHeart, Stitcher. We're everywhere you could be found. Podcast-wise, please give us the 5 stars, the thumbs up, comments. We really, really appreciate that, and that helps us a lot. So definitely jump in that contest. We pulled some analytics and statistics from our YouTube, and we really, really appreciate. We have so many of our listeners that come back for all the shows, but only 49% of our listeners are subscribed. So, subscribe and hit that little alert button. We should double up on just those numbers with our regular weekly listeners to the golf, or multiple podcasts per week with football. And then, of course, we'll be rolling back into the other sports as well. So we would love to have you do that. All right, no further ado. We can't stall anymore. What do we got for our value and for now, until we come up with something better, the Hansen Haymakers for this event?
Yeah, or maybe the values for victory.
I think it has to be tied to you, because you get the credit.
All right. Well, a couple in the mid-tier I want to mention here. Just a reminder, again, James Hahn, 8,000, 3 straight top 10s, great on the par 5 scoring. So keep him in mind. Just below him, again, Denny McCarthy, 7,900, tied for 4th last week.
Great on the Denny McCarthy.
Yeah, great on the par 5 scoring this year, and always a great putter. And one name we haven't mentioned yet, good old Lee Westwood. Did you know that he has 8 straight top 35s worldwide?
Really?
So, he's been playing over in Europe, different conditions, but maybe he'll be nice and relaxed here in the warmth. And
how old is Lee Westwood now?
He's like 100.
I mean, is he 50? He should be able to play.
He played in 1963 at this event.
He was a caddy there in the 20s. I think.
He was. He knows the course really well. So after him, again, Tringali, 7,300, great with the par 3, the putting. And then in terms of the 6K guys, once again, don't forget about John Ha. I mean, he's the value play of the week at 6,300.
Okay.
He just tore up the par 5s and the par 3s. So great way to get one or more of these expensive guys like Tyrrell Hatton in your lineup.
Excellent.
But one other guy I want to mention, David Hearn, who is a late addition to the field. KJ Choi withdrew from the tournament. David Hearn.
Wouldn't that be KJ Cha?
Yeah, well, I guess it's been pounded in my brain for 20 years that over here that's how they pronounce his name. But yeah, good point. By the way, do you know that James Hahn is from South Korea? So there's another nice connection for us. But
there we go.
So with KJ having withdrawn, David Hearn was added to the field, and he had a top 10 finish last year in Bermuda. His putter last week, his putter is really hot. But right now he's not on the docket here on DraftKings.
They'll add him.
Yeah, it's Tuesday, so keep an eye on that. We don't know his price. I think he'll probably be a 6K guy, and that would be another value play for me this week. So I'm going to keep a close eye on that.
That would be a gigantic secret squirrel, an added guy to the list. Holy Toledo. I've got a couple little value throws in there. I play this guy a lot, and he's always super duper cheap, and he seems to grind it out and make the cuts for me, and that's Sepp Straka. I know, I'm always in his side, but he had a nice little 21st finish this week, shot 69 and 68 on the weekend, so he did great for my weekend deal. And, he's not winning tournaments, but He's making cuts, 43rd, 33rd, and you need some of those grinders that you can get at a cheap price. I'm surprised you didn't mention your buddy Aller Schinderhines or whatever.
Yeah, 7,100.
That's pretty darn cheap.
Yeah, I'll have him out there for sure. I usually try to define my quote unquote value plays as 6K on DraftKings.
I'm sorry, I'm not in that for me. I get these $7,000 guys, and I think I'm hitting the lottery. So
right.
I did have one more guy I wanted to mention in that area that I think is somebody that we need, that is one of my quiet guys, and now I can't find him.
While you're looking, I've got one more I can mention.
Okay.
Justin Harding is 6,500, a South African who I'm going to call a slightly above average player on the European Tour.
Okay.
So 6,500 I think is a good price for somebody who has won worldwide. Sort of pretty solid stats across the board. So I'm going to get him in a lineup or two.
I like it. I still can't find my guy. So my secret, my double secret squirrel. Yes, I will put it out there on Twitter. I'll also even make a comment on YouTube too, because this guy, since I can't find him, is probably the winner.
Yeah,
let's just say that. So we will do that. Well, excellent. Again, we want to thank BetUS.com.pa. If you haven't voted and you're listening to this, get your tail out there and vote. You've got plenty of time today to get your voice heard, and that is very, very important. It's your duty as an American. And for our non-American listeners in Australia and Canada and all our friends, we were ranked 4th in Malaysia on our rankings. So hello, Malaysia.
Hello, everybody.
That's a question for you. What language do they speak there?
I'm not sure.
We're going to have to look that one up. That's a quiz question of the day. All right, a couple other things. On Twitter, at DFS Coach Talk, check us out. I'll be posting that secret squirrel on there. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. Andrew is at Language Olympic. And, of course, Mr. Sugar Shane is at DET Sports Shane. YouTube, DFS Coach Talk, as you know. Instagram, DFS_Coach Talk. You can get all the information and sign up as well at dfscoachtalk.com. We have some fantastic offers out there. Andrew, why don't you spike them on this winter special we got?
Oh, yeah. Jump in with us. Get a membership for the rest of the winter. So you get our golf lineups every week. You get every football lineup for every slate through the Super Bowl and then 1 week after. And you'll get the beginning of the NBA season. And what we do is on FanDuel, we give out a cash lineup and then a GPP lineup. Depending on the slate, sometimes we give out 2 GPP lineups. Those are full lineups that you can just plug and play. And then on DraftKings, we give out the coach's clipboard with core plays highlighted and then pivots. So with that winter special, you get a discount on the monthly price, and you get every lineup for all those sports all the way through the Super Bowl. So just go to our website, dfscoachtalk.com, sign up, and then we'll get you into our Discord, and that's where we distribute the lineups.
And I'll tell you, we priced and put out this winter special, without knowing when the NBA season was going to start, which we still don't know. But I know Adam Silver is really pushing for December 22nd to get it started. And if he has his way and you get the winter special, you'll be 1 week short of having 2 months of the NBA along with that winter special. I mean, that is a fantastic, fantastic deal. And even if it does get pushed into January, still a nice chunk of, our number one in sport here at DFS Coach Talk. So dive in. We'd love to have you. Have a great group of members, having a lot of one-on-ones with in our chat here with a lot of our members. Had a great talk with Gigi Goldstar today and a couple of our other folks as well, and just really strategizing and looking how to win. What we talk about all the time is sustainable long-term profitability in DFS. That whole terminology is what we believe in, And all of that has everything to do with the preparation of what you're doing and how you're doing it before you even roster a single guy. And that really, I think, is the key to our success at Coach Talk. So we'd love to have you join in. Also, our charity of choice here is mambaon3.org. That's MAMBAONTHREE.org. It is a wonderful charity set up by the Bryant family. So terrific job. Great insight today, Andrew. Any final words on our golf prowess here? Next time we talk golf on here, it will be the Masters on CBS.
Can't wait for that. So in the meantime, good luck with the Houston Open, and then tune in on Thursday for our next 2 NFL podcasts. We're going to preview the Thursday night game, and then the Sunday main slate, we go game. So tune in for those.
And I'll tell you, shout out to Sugar Shane because he was really pushing for it. But we decided to go with positionality podcasts. We're doing a quarterback one separate, and then a running back one, and then a wide receiver tight end one. And I'll tell you, it is just blowing up YouTube. People are loving it, getting that like 20, 25-minute deal spot by spot, and, had a lot of great comments. So hats off to you guys. Let's make this a fantastic week. Let's sweep some golf. This weekend was a blast, finishing up, winning some golf, having the football, getting that done, and still preparing for the other sports that we have coming up. So terrific, man. Enjoy it. I've got my sticker here. You can't see it. It says I voted. I hope all you guys do the same. We appreciate every one of you, and thank you for tuning in. And we'll catch you again next time when we look to crush it in DFS.